It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
Laugh.
We had a little fun, because it's a very long day, you know.
And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is The Focus Group with Tim Bennett.
All right, let's go already.
And John Nash.
Pucker up, buttercup.
With a focus on career, the consumer culture, and marketing from an LGBT point of view. We're all business, except when we're not.
Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett.
Collarless.
I am wearing a jacket that I bought a couple weeks ago that I felt terribly guilty about buying. It might not show up right on the camera, but it's got a nice little print in there. Remember I called you in a panic? I'm like,
is this the panic coat?
This is the sale jacket that was at one price, handwritten. When I got up to the register, she goes, it's this number. I said, no, that's a 1, not a 2. So I ended up buying it, so there you go.
It looks nice.
Hey, if you're watching us on Facebook, welcome. Comment at will. We have our good friend Brian, I think, watching the feed today for us, correct?
Yes, and he'll be available during the list to if you're playing along online because you can't talk at work.
Excellent.
Brian should be able to chime in.
Or you could be watching us on YouTube, and if you're catching us on audio, you'd probably be doing that through iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio, possibly the Reverie app as well, which has our audio and video streams available. That's an app that's on Apple's iOS TV or Apple TV. And Reverie is an app that features a lot of interesting LGBT content, independent films, things like that. We're the best show on there, right?
I think we are. I've tuned in there. What were the longest shows? Certainly.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the stuff. There's a cooking show. Yeah, they're smaller forms, but.
And if you'd like to comment or join us on the show at any time, please call us at 877-962-6846. In the booth, we have Garrett and John, our associate producers, and Garrett takes your calls, and John they both flip a lot of switches and do things that are like, we say it's the magic behind the scenes, right?
Skill set John would like to learn, I think. John could be a.
Speaking of skill sets, the skill set I've been ostensibly learning for the past several months now, my latest class is winding down. And it's the class is my animation class, and it's Acting 1. And my tutor, my mentor, JD, works for Industrial Light and Magic out in California. And it's been a really great class. But you and I were talking about this at lunch. It's really been a big learning curve. To know what you don't know is always a real slap in the face. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I think you thought it was, I don't know how I'll phrase this. Not that you thought it was going to be easy, but I think you thought it might have been a bit easier than it is. Is that right? One time we talked about, I'm going to do this animation and I'm going to make cartoons. We're going to animate us.
So Tim's referring to like years ago. I said to Tim one day on the phone, I said, I'm going to buy this program.
A software program.
Give me about 5 days. I'll be animating. And we're talking about an art form now that I know for real how much goes into it. You're not talking about days. You're talking about months and weeks, and hundreds of hours go into a specific performance. But what I learned, as I said earlier, this class was Acting 1, and you'd think that since you and I love good TV and good movies, and we do our show every week, that you'd have a sense of acting. But what I learned from my mentor this term, from JD, as he would put up examples from animated films, live action films, and you'd analyze one scene and you'd look at 20 seconds of that scene, actors do so much that you don't even think about. Just the way they tip their head or they blink, it's all pre-thought out, and so to get that into your animation work is really hard.
Do you watch things now, if you were to watch the old Looney Tunes, for instance?
Yes.
When we were growing up, our Flintstones, and do you see it now as being very pedestrian or archaic?
Oh, no. I think that
that was all hand-drawn, right?
All hand-drawn. I think that when we look at old Disney or like Wile E. Coyote, Foghorn Leghorn, that whole, there's some really great animation there. The Hanna-Barbera stuff, the Jetsons, the Flintstones,
right.
That's a little more, let's get it done, because it's a Saturday morning cartoon. But Yeah, there's a lot of artistry in how you tell a story frame by frame, and it's anyway. It's been a really great experience, and my next class is acting 2. There's no invention there, right? Acting 1,
2.
acting 2.
Well, I didn't, not that she was, when I said that and totally off the animation topic, but the thing of, I'm going to get a software program and I'm going to animate. It reminds me of the time when I had first moved out to Oregon and I was meeting our friend Jay in Seattle. She wanted to do a Thanksgiving dinner because her brother was at the
just buy a turkey.
military base. Well, she says, come on up. She goes, let's do this. Let's go to Mount St. Helens. And then you'll meet me there. This is before cell phones.
Oh, I love this story. Yeah.
And then after we visit Mount St. Helens, then we'll go back to his place in Seattle, and we'll have a turkey dinner. Then you can.
Jay?
Yeah.
This is Jason's place. This is when she first.
No, this is her brother.
Okay.
Her brother was in the military, and so this is in the 90s. And so I remember telling all the guys, it was a Sunday morning, we finished rowing, and what are you doing? I said, anybody want to go to Mount St. Helens with me? And they all looked at me very kind of odd, which I guess is like saying, anyone want to go to Yellowstone? Or anybody want to go to Montana? Because Mount St. Helens takes up 3 states. It's got part of Washington State, Idaho, and Oregon. And I don't know, I thought it was Disney, like you just go to the entrance.
There was more than one entrance, right?
Oh my God, hundreds of entrances. And so when I said to my one friend, he goes, you're going to do what? And I said, I'm going up to Mount St. Helens. You want to go? I'm going to meet a friend. And I still remember going from ranger station to ranger station and calling my
back in the
answering
day
machine.
Yeah.
And then it would be like, I'm here, I'm waiting. And meanwhile, she was hundreds of miles away at some other entrance point. I finally said to the guy, I said, I'm trying to meet a friend. And he just laughs. He said, it's not Disney. He's like, you don't come into the main gate. He said, there's like 1,100 ports of entry into Mount St. Helens. Anyway, I just ended up just driving then to Seattle and finally got there like 9 o'clock at night, and she and I were both beat because she was doing the same thing. And
Going from gate to gate.
we bought turkey and stuff, and I was late for work the next day. But it was one of those, let's go. Let's do it. It'd be easy.
Hey, so on the show today, we're going to be doing the random sample.
RS.
The RS. You're doing the RS. And that's where Tim and I look at 3 stories apiece from around the country. This time we didn't actually have assigned websites or publications. Like the first time you did
You
this.
should have used the ones I've given you. Those are your websites and your publications.
those are mine.
Those are yours. You own those. I didn't step on
okay,
those.
okay.
So next time.
All right, now that I know the rules, right now I know the rules.
So those are your static.
And we got some mail from folks. People are getting the socks.
Yes.
And we know that Kip got his and a whole bunch. And I just got a note from some folks in upstate New York that
I like
got
the
theirs.
purple.
Purple's a big hit. It's a good purple. It's a good color.
I'm not fond of the purple, but people like the purple. Purple came from our audience. They recommended we do purple, and we've held off. We've done red, we've done green, we've done black, blue, yellow, gray.
It's about you nailed. No, the gray was always an accent color. Yeah.
So we're going to need a new color for this. Maybe this summer we can come up with one.
Well, yeah, I remember we were going to do a blue at one point, and you had a
Royal blue.
But you taught me that. Well, I should have known that. But royal and navy are kind of like leagues apart in terms of blue. A good royal would be good.
Might be something good. Okay, we'll have to look at that.
All right. So before we go to the random sample, though, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
So, this was one of these feel-good stories, I think. But I thought it was interesting. So there's a company it was founded, it's a casual chain, similar, it's called Original Joe's, and it's based in Canada. It was, the first location I think was in Alberta, Canada. And I looked them up, and they're similar. So I saw this story, and then I looked them up. They're similar to like an Applebee's. So you're familiar, and they're one of the largest or the fastest growing chains in Canada right now. They have over 63 or 65 locations, and they're franchised, and they're going to be opening, I think, some in the States. I think they actually opened an office in Boston. But there was a woman there who was, this was this winter, she, the title is Drunk Woman Leaves Car at Restaurant and Comes Back to This Note on Her Windshield. So she, her name is Paula Schultz. It's a hyphenated name. I can't understand the first one, but I'll call her Paula Schultz. So she was there with her husband. She decided to leave her car at the restaurant and then took an Uber home. And anybody who knows, usually if you leave a car at a restaurant, or you leave a car in a parking lot overnight, you might get booted, you might get towed, you might get a ticket or whatever. So she expected that, but didn't want to drive drunk. So she comes back and she gets in her car, and there was a note on the car, and it said, this was from the Original Joe's in Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. It said, "Dear Original Joe's Sherwood Park guest, I just wanted to thank you for leaving your car here overnight. I'm not sure if you had consumed alcohol at our restaurant or not, but I want to thank you for not drinking and driving. Encloses a voucher good for 1 pound of our delicious chicken wings. Please accept this as a thank you for being responsible. Life is valuable. Have a great weekend." And so she posted that on her Facebook page. And ended up, that's her at the top there. That's Paula. Of course, we'll discuss this in a second, but that's our famous Sarah Palin below. I've tried to fit her in, but
you got my note from our listener,
right,
Don,
which I'll address in a second. She put this on Facebook. She got over 20,000 likes immediately and 8,000 shares. Everybody thought it was great. It was from the manager, or the managing partner at the restaurant, named Jay McLean. He says he's been doing this and starts leaving this on the cars because he's noticed if people are drinking, I'd rather you get an Uber, enjoy yourself, get an Uber, go home. And he's
what a cool thing,
smart thing. And so I thought that was a pretty good feel-good story. He says he cares about fighting drunk driving through kindness and great examples, and said, hey, I'd rather you leave your car here than go hurt yourself or someone else.
And you know what? The word of mouth on that is that she's going to, what you said earlier about if you leave it overnight, booted, towed, whatever. Now he's setting a precedent where, you know what? Have fun. Come back, get your car in the morning.
If you've had too much.
Yeah.
So we got it was Don. And
it's Don from Florida, yeah.
Says that we're empowering Sarah Palin, or she was not relevant anymore. Was that what the gist of it was?
I sent you the note, yeah, but we use her differently. You use her differently. Yeah. She's more like a Seinfeld thing.
Right, but I did, point well taken that perhaps she's not relevant. I will argue that she is relevant. I don't know if you know what's going on with Sarah Palin currently. Mm-mm. So the country of Canada is lobbying very hard, Pierre Trudeau, the Prime Minister, with the Trump administration, because she is the lead candidate, or was the lead candidate, to be ambassador to Canada. And the Canadians are furious. So she was initially up for Interior Secretary.
That
didn't go, but she wants to be ambassador to Canada. When Pierre Trudeau was down, the Prime Minister of Canada, just recently with Trump, he said, please do not send her. We do not want her to be ambassador. And Trudeau said he got assurances from Trump that she would not be the ambassador, but they've not named one yet. There's a lot of ambassadors we haven't named. But I did read the note, and I thought, you know what? You might not think she's relevant. She's relevant, I think. So, picture Sarah.
Well, we use her kind of
as a foil.
As a clown.
She's a foil.
Clown image.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's bozo, it would be the same thing.
But we appreciate the feedback. And
Don's great. Don, actually, when I sent him a reply and forwarded you to the note, I'd asked him some really technical questions. Within minutes, I get this great email back, like, here's how I do it, here's how you can do it. So thank you.
For what?
Video editing, some sound stuff, because he's really quite good at that. And
so what caught your eye?
Mine is also I call this a bomb for the winter storm we just had.
Bomb.
About 2 weeks ago.
BALM?
A bomb.
Or a BOMB?
Balm.
Balm?
BALM.
Like a balm tree.
A balm.
Palm tree. Balm Sunday.
I get this all the time. So about 2 weeks ago, you did a list. I think that the theme was the easiest countries to get citizenship, and dual citizenship. And one of our followers called in, or a caller called in, and mentioned that he was traveling to Portugal in the near future.
Wow.
And literally 3 days later, the New York Times had a beautiful little photo piece, a photo essay on a unique place in Portugal that I would love to go. And the minute you see it, you'll probably say if you're with me, you don't want to do it.
Every time you pick a place, I say I don't want to do it. You had one what was the one in New Mexico with climbing up to see those clay huts?
It was the Pueblos. Well, this involves stairs as well. And this is called it's Paiva. What would I say, the Paiva? Paiva?
Yeah, we don't know Portuguese.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Paiva Walkways. It opened in 2015 on the left bank of the Paiva River in Aveiro, Portugal. That's one little section.
Is that the steps? So if you're watching online, John has a picture of these steps. I guess it's like climbing.
Oh, it's going all the way down to this gorge, right?
Yeah.
So this is considered the most beautiful river in Portugal, and the author, Daniel Rodriguez, says the following. He recently spent a day there and took in a stunning waterfall in the middle of the mountains, then walked down the winding stairs, parentheses, the walkways are almost 5 miles long of that kind of, not all the up and down, but a lot of that, and along the wooden promenade by the river. When he arrived at Vau Beach, he took a dip in the clean waters of the Paiva, then rested on the sand, closed his eyes, listened to the sound of the river. It renewed his soul. So this is a bridge that crosses. It's a suspension bridge. So you walk down those big stairs, and this bridge goes right across the river at one point. The next image is there's a beach at this river's edge, and they have all these ropes hanging from trees, and you could swing on the rope out into the river, and, Tarzan style, right?
I like Mayberry.
In Portugal. And then at the very end, the Paiva River seen from the suspension bridge. The water seems especially pure in this section. So the water is super, super clean, crystal clear, and that's a definite day trip. He recommends that if you do, in fact, do this, that you start from the Espionca. And that's the side of the river that's a little less strenuous to walk. But I just thought it was a beautiful thing. And after
What if it's buggy?
He didn't say that in the article at all.
No.
No, but, I just think it looks really cool. It's pretty much of a day. I think you'd want to devote a day to that, especially if you have 5 miles of walking on the platforms, right?
There's a friend of mine I went to college with that just posted a video, which I thought of you immediately. It's another one of those trips I won't do. I should bring it next week for the show just to run it so you can see. But it's somewhere in the U.S., and my stomach was turning just watching the video of the walk that these people had to take. You would love it, I'm sure. But she had mentioned, it was my friend Sue Conrad and her husband Jake. She said it was on their bucket list to do this hike. And
you got to show this to me.
Oh my God, there was parts where it looked like it was about 8 inches on the ledge, and they're walking along. Not me.
That reminds me.
I'm clumsy.
No, you're not.
Yes, I'm clumsy.
Well, I wouldn't know. You've never seen clumsy.
I am clumsy.
Years ago, back in '99, I think it was, last century.
Is this the mountain bike trip?
I took a bike trip through Bryce and Zion canyons, and in Zion, there's a hike you can do to something called Angel's Ledge or Angel's Peak or something, and you have no idea where you are. You're walking through the trees and wooded area, and then you suddenly get to this ledge of a cliff, and there's this, I think it was maybe 3 feet wide. There was a ridge of stone that ran up to like a
I wonder if is this in Utah?
This is in Utah, yeah.
I wonder if this is where they were. I'll have to check. I'll have to check the video.
It's called Angel's Landing. It's Angel's Landing in Zion Park, and you have to walk across the spine, they call it. And all the Park Service did was had 5 poles with a chain that ran.
It sounds like it.
And you are basically, I could be wrong, maybe it's 800. It seemed like I was at the height of the Empire State Building from the ground, and I was paralyzed with fear because you're like, so all these people are coming back at you, and they're like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. It's going to be, once you go, you're going to be great, So of our group, only 3 of us crossed.
Did you do it?
I crossed, and then we were on this treacherous, steep trail to the top of this thing. And I at one point I just stopped and I sat, and all of us just sat down because we thought we were paralyzed with fear, we can't move. And so these hikers come down, like a guy and a girl, this couple. Oh yeah, we were just like you 5 minutes ago. We were scared crapless. Don't worry about it. Get up, finish it. You'll be great. Great view. We basically crawled. We almost did hands.
I think this might be the place because I remember just these stakes in the ground with the chain and on a cliff.
And it's sheer drop on either side.
I'm surprised they allow you to do that. Are there warning signs?
Nope. That's at your risk, right? So we get to the top. It's an incredible view. Everybody's laughing up there, and then it's time to go down. And now we're all like, oh my God. But I will tell you this, the going back was way easier. It was easy to go down, cross the thing, didn't even think about it.
Not me.
I don't know how that.
I want to go out on that Chicago thing.
That was the glass
Willis Tower, or the Sears Tower. I want to go out on that.
Right.
They closed part of it or something.
Really?
I heard it wasn't very, very, very strong. I don't know. Somebody told me they closed it.
There's a picture of you on that glass floor. What people don't know is that you were looking. You never looked down. You looked straight up at the camera.
We got a note to our Facebook page, by the way, which is Focus Group Radio. Somebody had watched the show and said, "Why were you guys scared on Beartooth Pass in Wyoming, Montana. And this guy said, I drive it all the time, all kinds of weather.
Did he really?
He goes, you have to come back. So I'm gonna look him up. And
the Beartooth one is. You had planned that part of the trip, but we didn't realize we were on Beartooth until we started climbing.
And it was getting dark.
It was getting dark, and we had to be in Billings. We were on a schedule. But whoever wrote that on Facebook is dead right. I would love to go back. It's one of the places I really would love to go back.
We didn't anticipate 20 miles an hour through the park, which kind of ruined. That was a long day.
That was a frustrating day because we were stuck in park traffic.
It was like a bad Disney movie.
Well, it was sort of if Chevy Chase appeared in a camper, it would have been right up our alley. And if he had been stuck on Beartooth and we couldn't get around him, he would have been right. That would have been vacation, right? So that's what caught my eye. I hope I'm probably butchering it. The Pava walkways in Portugal.
Place to go in Brazil.
No, Brazil. Portugal.
Portuguese. We have one business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Do you remember Fabio?
Fabio began as a romance cover model. He would be painted in all these different,
How old do you think he is?
I'm going to say 62, maybe.
Well, there's some discrepancy. They say he's 58 today. He was one of the most. He's most widely known by his mononym. So Fabio, even though his name is Fabio Lanzoni, but it's like Cher or Madonna, right? So he's got the name Fabio. He was an Italian-American and actor, fashion model, and spokesperson who appeared on the covers of dozens of romance novels throughout the 80s and 90s. He just became a U.S. citizen last March, so a year ago, this month. One of his most memorable advertising campaigns was I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
Oh, I remember when he did that, yeah.
Remember that? He was a spokesman for the company since 1994. He also has been a spokesperson for Geek Squad, Oral-B's Sensitive Advantage toothbrush, Nationwide Insurance, which they said was the most popular ad in 2006 on the Super Bowl. I don't remember that.
Neither do I.
And then he's done he did some stuff for Wix Furniture, Ames Hardware, Old Spice, and the American Cancer Society. In 2011, he went up against that Isaiah Mustafa, the famous guy from Old Spice, and he was going to see if they could replace him as the Old Spice guy. Well, he lost. However, in the competition that they had, he got 9 million views in 1 week on his YouTube channel, similar to us. And he did have some criticism. He was a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society and did some things for some cancer clinics, which he made some unsubstantiated claims. And he got in trouble for that. And then on the business side, aside from all those other things he was doing, in 2003, he launched a clothing line at Sam's Club, which is a division of Walmart.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
Casual wear for women. I'm surprised he didn't do like men's tank tops or something. Or onesies. What's he doing there in a onesie? Isn't that what he's in, a little flight outfit?
No, that's a whole like flight suit.
Flight suit.
Zipper down the front with his...
And then he also wrote a fitness book called Fabio Fitness. In 2008, he launched a healthy line of vitamins. It was called Healthy Planet Vitamins. In his personal life, he likes off-roading and motorcycles and aquariums.
I actually like a good aquarium. Do you like aquariums?
I don't. You got to clean them.
Well,
he has a...
Besides that fact, okay, I do find them rather soothing to look at. They're just...
Not me.
Okay.
Get a picture. He has over 200 motorcycles, dirt bikes, racing bikes, and a championship Ducati. Interesting, and here you go. On March 30th, 1999, a goose hit him and died. He was on a roller coaster at Busch Gardens. Fabio was the first one to try out the roller coaster. He was doing an appearance. He was in the front of the car on Apollo's chariot. As the roller coaster was descending rapidly at the 200-foot drop, a goose came and smashed him right in the face. He had a bloody nose. He received a cut in his face, and he was hurt, and the goose died. Imagine that was in your bio. Of all the things that happened in your life,
You
that's
put the dead goose on the, what was the name of the roller coaster again?
it was Apollo's chariot.
The dead goose the goose he killed and the nose he broke on Apollo's chariot. That's the way it goes.
Happy 58th birthday to Fabio. I'll give him credit, right? Because talk about extending your brand.
Oh, yeah. No, he's been able to stretch that one for a good long time, right?
It's fantastic. So, hey, it's a focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do the random sample where John and I take some stories from around the country with, do you have an LGBT focus on yours?
All of them.
So you did do it.
Yeah, but I didn't use the...
Fitty.
Yeah, I didn't use the guaranteed websites, but I did the... Yeah.
Feel free to call us if you'd like. Later on this week, or later on today, during Tim's List, we're going to ask you if you've gone on spring break. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Little Edie and Big
Listening to the whole thing, doing their thing.
hands a hairbrush over.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Glad you didn't go anywhere and you stuck with us because now it's time for the random sample.
Didn't even have time to take a peek.
This is the segment where Tim and I have looked at a bunch of news services and sites and LGBT publications from around the country, and we're bringing you some of the stories that both of us were drawn to. And interestingly, when we coordinate this, when we're planning the show, I'll call Tim usually on Tuesday afternoon or early evening. I'll say, as we're going through our notes, I'll say, what were yours? And we rarely overlap. We only overlapped on one, and you already had an alternate for it. But
And we did one time back in the day, you and I had a story. It was a caught my eye that we both had or we both had seen. It might have been North Korea focused.
Oh, because I would have done that for your entertainment.
Did you get that clip, by the way? I sent you the cruise line.
We are going to use that
somewhere.
I'm saving that.
Okay.
Tim sent me a great, I love this clip. You find the best stuff online. All right. I'll go first, and an article that caught my eye for the random sample, LGBTQ media is less white than ever, but it's still not enough. So this article is actually about a French magazine called Tatu.
Wait a minute. What was the title?
LGBTQ media is less white than ever, but it's still not enough. And so here's how it goes. The French magazine Tatu, many of you might have seen it. It was one of those really good-looking European gay publications, kind of like DNA from Australia or something. But Tatu used to be a lot like other gay magazines. Nearly all its covers featured men, nearly all of whom were white, many not even gay, nearly all muscled. A similar homo-normative attitude graced the inside of its pages. Tatu, which launched in 1995, went bankrupt in 2015. Last January, the company was purchased out of bankruptcy by advertising startup Idols, lowercase I, big case D, YLS, Idols. Its website was relaunched, and a new editorial team with an average age of just 26 was granted more freedom to shake things up. Last week, it announced the magazine would be back in print as well, available on newsstands this week throughout France. The move was surprising, not only because many print magazines are hanging on by a financial thread, but because the relaunched Tatu looks very different to how it once did. Its first cover features 3 normal-looking, diverse queer people, one of whom is transgender. And while the magazine's editors promise the magazine will still showcase plenty of skin, it has also expanded its coverage into new frontiers in queerness and social justice. So why don't we put up the... so this is... Remember Tatu?
Wasn't that a bar in Star Wars? Is that the bar? What was that called?
Okay, that is the Cantina, and
what was
it
it
was
called?
Star Wars: A New Hope, the original. It was in Mos Eisley, Spaceport. John,
Was it called Tattoo or something? Tatu?
Tatooine was
That's
the
a
planet
Tatooine.
where Luke grew up. Okay, so what we have, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, is a collage of covers from Tatu magazine. It was a French LGBT publication, and yes, when you look at them, it's a lot like a lot of our gay magazines. You know, hot white guys, or that's what they were saying here. So the article continues to say that the relaunch may be a sign of things to come for LGBTQ media around the world. And then they specifically look at the United States. American LGBTQ media in particular found itself in hot water last year after a hashtag called Gay Media is So White began trending on Twitter, drawing attention to the covers of magazines like Out and The Advocate, which, like Tay2, the old version, tended to feature a preponderance of white and straight men. So now let's put up the cover. So that's what Tay2 relaunched now.
Do you buy that?
Well, it's a French. Do I buy?
So do you buy the premise that LGBT media is too white?
You know, when I read this article and I was thought about it, here's the thing that struck me. They make mention of the fact that the covers used to be muscly white guys. Maybe they weren't gay. Maybe they were straight. Who knows? But it was definitely playing to a stereotype. That was about the only mention of whiteness in the article. The rest was dealing with how millennials see queer culture today and how they want to be represented. But I actually just think it comes down to what those magazines, you know, you sell a magazine, the cover is what sells, right? And so, you know, think back to the Calvin Klein billboard, Marky Mark in Times Square, you know, the whole, like the gay, like that was in the height of the AIDS crisis, so buff, you know, that sold. Was it representative of the community? Not by a long shot. I don't think they ever have been. Do you? No,
and you know, for a long time or for quite a while, I guess, people of color were underrepresented, but they also were not as out as well. I know HRC ran into that a bit, as did Advocate and so forth. But when some of these sports players, for instance, and I'm going to forget their names,
like Billy Bean,
right? Or the basketball player that's African American, the football player, they were all on the covers, you know, when they came out. But there is a visibility issue, I suppose. But in a country, well, you're not going to win. You and I realized that years ago when we were doing LGBT marketing with imagery, is that you're never going to satisfy everybody in terms of representation.
And I think which
is why we took people out of the advertising.
And I think the equation for magazines, particularly magazines, lifestyle books like Out or Advocate or Instinct or some of the other ones, they know who their paying subscribers are. And, you know, it's like that magazine DNA out of Australia. I think it's Australia. I would be disappointed if DNA did not have some kind of a hunk on the cover. And while it is not representative in any way, shape, or form of the entire community, it's what's making me pick up the magazine, right? And so just to wrap this piece up, he said that an analysis of American LGBT media by a company called Fusion found that 85% of those featured on the covers of some of these magazines in the last 5 years had been white, 28% had been straight. So, you know, and so it would be like a fashion magazine saying, we're going to put normal people on the cover. Well, we don't buy normal, right? I don't mean to be stepping on toes or anything, but all in all was a very upbeat piece on the fact that there is a shift in LGBTQ media happening and that it seems like millennials are looking to see themselves represented in the culture, and that they may be, in fact, looking towards consuming more publications down the road.
I used to have this debate. I'm a member of a rowing club in Philadelphia, and there was lots of issues within the city of Philadelphia that the rowing community was discriminatory because there weren't enough faces of color, people rowing. So they started a number of different leagues and so forth, and for whatever reason, none of them ever really caught on or whatever. And I posed the question. So they said, "Oh, rowing's too white."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay."
Cycling's the same way.
So then I said, now, what if I said that there's not enough representation in other sports that are happening in the city? Track and field, football, basketball, whatever. And then you get into the weeds real quick. So I said, you know, if you're going to say, okay, and there's an effort made, I don't know. I think sometimes we become overly politically correct on some of this stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And when you and I had this conversation about your rowing club, we also brought up my passion for cycling. And if you look at I ride myself. I'm not a racer or anything like that, but I do follow the Tour de France and all the big major races. You look at the Peloton, all white. You know, and I can't explain that. You know, people gravitate to certain sports, and I'm not sure. you could look back, is it offered in their
It could be cultural, it could be whatever.
Yeah,
But, it's like you complaining there's not enough white guys playing basketball.
Yeah.
You know what?
That might just be the way it is. It's
Anyway,
so that was about the relaunch of the magazine T2 in France.
T2.
T2. What is your first?
Both pages in full color. Not heard of T2. So mine, we've had Michelangelo Signorelli on the show. He's thankfully, or nicely, I guess. I don't know what the word would be, but he's joined us at the beginning of each year. He kicks off our show to talk about what's going on from the temperature of LGBT
more
politics,
political,
right? And so this story caught my eye, which is in our random sample, my first one. It was out of the Washington Blade this week. And the headline was, 2 credible gay candidates may run for Maryland governor. And the big thing Mike discussed with us was that a lot of people might not be happy with the current political climate or the current administration, but they said, unless there's more visibility and unless more people decide to get involved and run, whether it's your school board or it's a local office or something, that visibility certainly creates some change and understanding amongst all of us. So I thought this was interesting. There's 2 candidates, Rich Madaleno, and he's a senator in a state senator from Montgomery County in Maryland. He announced that he's going to run for office. 4 months earlier, another woman named Maggie McIntosh, who's a delegate to the Maryland State House, who's an out lesbian, also announced that she's going to run. And if you're watching, the pictures of them are both right there. They said it's created a bit of a quandary within the LGBT community and all the activists that both are very well liked, both are running for the Democratic primary, and they said...
so now you have the problem of you might
choose among friends.
Choose among friends.
And they said, and the 3 straight candidates are also extremely LGBT friendly. There's Kevin Kamenetz, a former NAACP person, Benjamin Jealous, and John Delaney from Maryland are all going to run, and they're all very pro-LGBT rights. And so they said this has created quite a quandary for a number of the LGBT organizations within Maryland, because they said all of these people are insiders. They could all do a great job. They both have very good qualifications, and they said it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
What a funny piece, because it's sort of an embarrassment of riches, right?
Yeah.
So now you have to judge the candidate. You would think that in a different kind of a race, if this were happening in a different state other than Maryland, and I don't want to pick one, but let's say it's a deep red state or something, you would naturally gravitate toward, if you were LGBTQ, you would navigate your way to the LGBT candidate, right? Yeah. But in this case, all seem like they're capable of doing the job, right?
Yeah, and they all currently
great
have great records, senior levels of influence within their various, either at the state house or in the Senate part of the state government. And so they said it's as you said, it's an embarrassment of riches. And they said they're both insiders, and they said they think it's going to be difficult for them to now choose amongst friends. But
it's fascinating, because now it almost takes their orientation out of the equation, right? But by having having the non-gay candidates be right there with our community.
Right. Well, and I'm sure what will happen is what's happened before is there'll be national groups such as the HRC will chime in as to who they support, and I'm sure there'll be some other groups that come out. They said as rare as this may seem to have 2 people that are entering the gubernatorial race as being openly out candidates, they said it did happen in Maryland last go around in 2014 when Heather Mazur, also from Montgomery County, gave up her seat to run against the she was a Democratic candidate against the current governor, who's a Republican, Larry Hogan. So they said this is not rare in Maryland, which I think is
Very
Maryland's pretty cool state.
Progressive.
So, yeah. So what's your second story?
All right, my second story is a wah to your upbeat candidate story, and the headline reads: "This is from the website Progress. LGBT Community Centers see a wave of vandalism across the country." It's part of a broader wave of hate that has spread across the country since the election. I think none of us we've seen this as it pertains to Jewish community centers, Muslim centers. Over the past 2 months, various LGBT centers have been targeted with vandalism. Fortunately, the attacks on these important resource spaces and gathering places have not resulted in anyone being hurt, but the damage is real. The latest pair of incidents took place about a week ago. The first was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the Dennis R. Neal Equality Center. Shortly after Monday morning, a four-door pickup drove past the center and fired approximately 13 shots at the front door and the windows.
Shots?
Yeah, gunshots. Police recovered 13 pellets, but fortunately they did not penetrate the reinforced glass. Boom, 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 boom. It's like something out of an Al Capone, like an old gangster movie. Yeah. Let's take down the storefront. It was the first time in the center's 12-year history that it was targeted for a serious act of vandalism. Monday afternoon, a man then entered the Equality Center and began yelling at the staff, volunteers, and patrons. According to the executive director, Toby Jenkins, he just started cussing us out using abusive language and saying, "I wish you would all die." He then ran away and flipped them off as he ran. All right, well, that's a little less horrible than having shots fired. And then this picture that we have up here is from the New Jersey's LGBT advocacy organization site, and it's a Garden State Equality's headquarters. Some guys are walking by, and they just tried to kick in the door and shattered the glass. The organization had just moved to its new headquarters in Asbury Park, which is surprising because Asbury Park is known as a very, very friendly,
aggressive
kind of a
right.
Jersey version of almost like a Jersey version of P-Town. Senator Cory Booker spoke out against the attack, calling it an act of hate. The two attacks this weekend follow a trend at other centers in recent months. And we have another picture here. In February, the LA Gay and Lesbian Center was hit with a graffiti attack that included various anti-gay slurs. I think that says "fuck trans lives." And the spelling, I'm not.
Well, the spelling's tough.
Here we're looking at an act of vandalism. I'm spell checking, and I need my head examined. So really, diverse and resilient, an LGBT community center in Milwaukee saw similar vandalism that same week, and basically, one of them put up a sign that said, "Throw parties, not bricks." So it's kind of a wah, wah, wah. But, and there was one, actually, another center was attacked in Harrisburg as well. Glass door was smashed in and the donation bin was stolen. So I just, I think anecdotally, I don't even need to have a scientific chart put in front of me, but since the November election, and even before that, the rhetoric that has been used in the country has, I think, broken down so many barriers. No one gave these idiots permission to do anything, right? No official said, guess what? You can now go vandalize. But they take that rhetoric and everybody absorbs it differently. You and I listen to something, we're like, what is this clown saying? And we go back to our lives. Others take it as like permission to do something. So
that's a story that overlapped for both of us, because even in the other publications I looked at, that was reported. There was also other incidents around the country. And it's this new violence that's taking place is until, someone's going to get hurt. And then,
this, no, I remember, and this story goes way back, but years and years ago, Bob and I had an incident with kids in our neighborhood, and it was a very particular couple of kids.
Right.
It was around the Winter Olympics, and I forget what year it was. I want to say it was 2008 or 7. It goes back away, and we were watching the Olympics, and a truck drove by, and it was winter out, but you could hear clear as a bell someone yelling out the truck window, "Faggots." And I thought, no, I didn't hear that. But I heard it repeatedly week after week until finally we arrived at the house one night and the whole front had been egged. And this is February. Like, you throw an egg at a house in February, it's there till... Called the sheriff the next day. He was right there in 10 minutes. Called our neighbor, actually, our great neighbor Todd, and we explained what happened. And Todd took great pains to say the following: none of us feel this way. You guys are part of our neighborhood. We love you. This should never have happened. I'm having the sheriff come down tomorrow morning. That's what first happened. And then Chad came, the sheriff, and what do you want done? I said, I want this to stop, but just stop. 40 minutes later, they caught the kids.
Really?
You know why?
They knew who it was.
Because in a town like that, you don't know what the Rhodes Scholars are doing, but you certainly know what the bad apples are doing, right? You don't keep tabs on a Rhodes Scholar, you keep a tab on a bad apple.
Well, it's funny. I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and there was I assume a lesbian couple that moved in, but two women moved in from Boston. They had a Subaru Baja, so pretty much
Baja.
If I was going to pinpoint it,
It's a Baja, yeah.
So And they had a rainbow flag out front, which has been taken down. And then they didn't think much of it, and then it continuously has been removed to where they've now called the police and they put a camera up because they're concerned someone's coming on their property and taking the flag down. And it's the same sort of thing. All the neighbors are now trying to figure out what kids do we think are doing this or whatever. And the police have been good now, extra patrols. But what is even, I think, in a form of solidarity, all their neighbors now are putting out rainbow flags, which makes it confusing for all of us because when you just see the rainbow flag here and there, you say, oh, there's some family.
The whole neighborhood's going.
So now the whole street now has got rainbow flags, which I think is great.
All right, so that was my wah, wah, wah. Sorry about that one.
That's okay. My number 2 comes from the world of fashion, and this came from Huffington Post Queer Voices. And the headline is, Zach Posen is unapologetic in his refusal to dress the Trumps.
Zach Posen, who is celebrity judge on Project Runway.
Project Runway. He's also creative director at Brooks Brothers.
Yeah.
He also has designed a group of, or a line of affordable wedding gowns from David's Bridal. He also in 2017, if it hasn't been, I don't think they've been revealed yet, but he's designing the entire uniforms, all the uniforms for Delta Airlines.
I remember that. Okay.
So 60,000 employees for customer service all the way to flight attendants. He's designing, and the baggage handlers, he's redesigning or updating the uniforms. So that'll be interesting to see. But he says he joins, the article was, he said, I think that every brand and person has a right to be vocal. I'm very upset with the state of affairs right now. He said, the article says Zach joins a long list of designers who now are refusing to dress the first family. And he said that right now I'm staying away from bringing my brand into politics. There are issues that are being questioned that are fundamentally upsetting to me deeply. LGBT rights, immigration, funding for the arts, Planned Parenthood, and women's rights. These are just a few issues that are very important and close to my heart. And I use my private, if I can use my private voice and funds to fight them and support them, I will. And it says, though fellow designers like Tommy Hilfiger have been very critical of him and others who are making political statements through their choice of who to dress.
Yeah.
He says, but then again, he said, no, listen, it's me, it's my brand. I'm very upset about the state of affairs. I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's my freedom to decide what to do. And he says, I don't dictate who buys my clothing in a store. And they said he makes an excellent point because everybody was shocked, I guess, during the speech that Trump gave to it wasn't the State of the Union, but when he spoke to the joint session of Congress, Melania Trump wore a $10,000 Michael Kors suit as a little bit of a jab because he was a vocal supporter of Hillary Clinton. And they said that Kors later revealed in a statement that Melania bought the outfit on her own and he cannot stop people from going in and buying his clothes and wearing them. He said that Mrs. Trump has been a longtime client of our New York boutique, and she has a keen understanding of what works best for her and her lifestyle. And then he talked about how great his outfit looked on her. But at the end of the day, he said that it was her decision.
How great his outfit looked.
It was her decision to go to the boutique and buy it, and you can't stop anybody from buying something. But a lot of these, whether it was Nancy Reagan back with Oscar de la Renta or when the Obamas, when First Lady Michelle Obama and the girls wore J. Crew for the inauguration, it really can help a brand.
Yeah, I remember when Michelle really moved a lot of young designers.
J. Crew stuff, yeah. And then, and the number of other designers. So that was my number two.
My last one's a very short one, and it's a good upbeat one. So I went from like this to this to this. And the headline reads, LGBT sailing team enters the British Virgin Islands Spring Regatta. All LGBT crew could be first in the regatta. They're not really sure because in past regattas, you might not know if the whole crew was or not. But this company, the team was organized by Trekker, T-R-E-K-R, but Trekker is a company, there's a main company called Trekker Adventures, and if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I've put up their websites. Trekker Adventures is where you and friends charter like a catamaran or a yacht, and they have specific trips that go around the Greek islands or Turkey. The Mediterranean's a big one. I think the group can be up to 10 or 13 people, but that's the main company. In fact, somewhere on that page, John, I don't know if you zoom in, it says like there's no way to travel but on a yacht or something.
Is that the picture of the crew?
Yeah, traveling the world should be done on yachts. And there's a group of people that probably went on one of their yacht trips. And I looked at the picture like, oh, they're all normal, like people we would meet on some of our trips. So the Trek R, T-R-E-K-R, they have Trekker Racing, and they've crewed their boat for the, for the spring regatta. And by the way, that regatta is happening in one of our favorite places when we did a shakedown
St. Bart?
cruise, the British Virgin Islands.
Joost van Dyke.
Yeah, Joost van, yeah.
It was Dutch, I think.
It will feature 150 yachts and 18 class, and is one of the most heralded regattas in the Caribbean. So that was, and so if you want to check out more about it, you could visit the Trek R Adventures, trekradventures.com, and they're on Facebook and the web. But I thought it was fun to have it. And they said that they discovered that a lot of LGBT people love wanted to learn about sailing, would love to race, and so they think that's an
You and I used to sail when we were younger, like Quassabog.
in a pedal boat. Yeah,
little sunfish.
Remember there was the sunfish. Was that Carol Zimbrowski's? Yeah, okay.
We found out later you weren't supposed to take the boat out.
We weren't supposed to take. Yeah.
My third one is a quick one, and it comes from the internet porn site Pornhub. So this came out of the Boston Globe.
Stats from Pornhub in any way, shape, or form are usually entertaining.
Well, over 100 million unique users, right? So Pornhub came online back in 2007, I believe. It's the largest professional and amateur video site with dozens of categories of porn, and huge. And they decided that they've got a lot of fans. They decided they want to be part of the community and do something. So the headline was, Pornhub is sending branded plow trucks to help during the snowstorm, pledging to assist anyone who, quote, wants to get plowed for free. So they did this in Boston. We got pictures of the trucks. Pornhub is
I didn't know you had pictures.
Branded on the trucks. There they are. That was yesterday in Boston and New Jersey. So the trucks have Pornhub on the plows and on the door, and all you had to do is email them at pornhubplows@gmail.com, and they would come, particularly for small businesses and parking lots. They were not going to do your residence. They warn you not to Google Pornhub and snowplow because you'll get a bunch of videos. But they're not going to do your driveway. Someone said they thought this might backfire because they thought, the more you get snowed in, the more you're probably going to go on to Pornhub. And but they've got dozens of plows ready. They want this to expand to multiple cities across the country. And some people thought it was a gimmick, but they actually said that they very much believe in dealing or giving back to their community. They're working on, I thought of you right away, they're working on a movie, the very first porn film filmed in space called Sexplorations. They've got two porn actors, Eva Lovia and Johnny Sins. They've got an Indiegogo fund now for $3.4 million to do the production, and they're going to make the first porno in space.
I want to clarify something. The only reason you thought of me was because of space, not because of the poor.
They do have a history of giving back to the community, though. In 2012, they launched Boob Bus in New York. And the Boob Bus traveled around to several New York City landmarks and gave free breast mammograms to women at these but it was Pornhub Boob Bus, and then you'd go in and get it. Then they launched Save the Boobs, which they donated for every time somebody watched either a small tit or big tit video. They racked up money, and they were going to give the money to the Komen Foundation, Susan Komen.
Yeah.
She refused to take the money.
Because it came from Pornhub?
Because it came from Pornhub, but they raised in 2 days $75,000, and they ended up giving it to two local cancer charities.
Well, thankfully, they had two little charities to give it to, right?
And then the last one, in 2014, on Arbor Day, they did for a week an environmental campaign called Pornhub Gives America Wood. And it was a 1-week campaign, and they planted a tree. So for every 100 views on a big dick video, they bought a tree. How many trees do you think they got in 1 week?
Oh my God, was this like in 1 week? How many trees?
So each tree equals 100 views.
Each tree equals 100.
So it's 15,473 trees they planted.
Whoa,
they had to hire
15,000?
Yeah.
Where did you find this whole article?
It was in the Boston. So I went to the
sites.
And this popped up. So.
By the way,
So Pornhub, get Plowed, and so next time it snows
And the
you're-
boob bus.
the boob
And the
bus.
wood. And what was the wood one called?
Pornhub gives America wood.
Wood.
So for watching the videos, you generate money and they donate trees to be planted. So, hey, that's the.
That was a random sample.
random.
That was a very random
Of
sample.
course, as the clock moves on. But hey, so we got Tim's List coming up next. We're going to show you a quick, about a minute and a half video with.
This one's the Beetle.
This is a Beatles, like a Beetle racing.
It's mostly
racing
visual.
circuit.
And if you're listening, it's some cool music,
It's like
but it's
running
mostly a
footage.
visual.
Like running
But
footage.
we're doing
Kinda
this as a
fast.
conceit though, because we know there's a time delay.
Yeah.
So while this little video plays, John's going to put up the graphic for Tim's List, and we're going to list the name of this. The top 10 will be
Looking
at
for the top 10 spring break destinations for 2017. So these are where you and I might go on spring break, but kids in college go on spring break. But they've looked at a number of different sites. They've aggregated all of the data together and came up with the top 10 destinations where people are going for spring break this year. John, do you want to pick a number 2 to 10?
I'm going to pick number 8.
So if you guess number 1 or 8, you get a pair of our famous socks. So stay with us right back. Give us a call at 877-962-6846 with your guess of one of the top 10 spring break destinations, and we'll be right back with Tim's List.
Hi, I'm Tanner Faust. I'm Scott Speed. Normally we would be racing in the Beetle GRC cars, but this weekend it's a party. We're racing in the Fun Cup.
Now back to the focus group with Tim and John.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
An entertaining look at the world of business.
Heads are spinning, heads are spinning.
Listen, laugh, and learn.
I am not gay. I never have been gay.
That's perverse.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Tim and I were watching the video as it played. It's an interstitial, and
Or as they say in Volkswagen, the video.
the video.
Video.
The video was playing. And we couldn't determine, those are either old style Beetles, because it's a VW Beetle, but you think it's like a kit car.
Modified, yeah.
Very modified. And when you see the interior, there's just knobs, pulleys and levers and buttons. Okay, recap for us, and I'll start taking calls.
So it's Tim's List this week. We're looking at spring break destinations, and it was the USA Today went through and aggregated a bunch of different sites, whether it was Orbitz or Kayak or Hotels.com or Booking.com, and came up with what they felt, based upon the criteria they put together, were the top 10 spring break destinations. And I never got to do spring break. I always had to work. I don't think you did either.
We
but
both worked.
Spring break's a big thing for college kids, but they said it's actually gone beyond that. It helps families get out of the doldrums, and a lot of people will go as families to go on spring break somewhere with their mom and dad will take the kids.
Love the idea.
Again, we didn't have that. So Brian at AdMark 360 apparently is going to be following along as well. on the social media part. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, he should be able to hopefully call us and let us know if you've got a correct
Call in
answer
and
as
let
well.
us know.
We think.
Yeah. Well,
all
it's
works
all experimental, folks.
So what do you got? We're looking for 1 or 8 for a pair of our famous
Let's go
socks.
down to our friend Don in Alabama. Don, welcome to the show. Good to hear from you. What do you got for Tim today?
I got Daytona Beach, Florida, which is where I used to go.
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Well, you're old.
I know that.
I think Daytona was a big...
It's before the ocean receded. We used to ride our Triceratops down there.
I remember Daytona being a big destination, but not on this list.
Is Daytona the Atlantic side, or is it on the
It's Atlantic.
It's the Atlantic side.
You can drive on the beach there, right, Don?
Yep.
That's the big
But
thing.
used to could.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but not on the list.
Not on the list.
Not on the list. All right.
I'm sorry, Don. We know how smart you are. So, you'll be surprised by the 1 and the 8. But thanks for your call, my friend, and have a great week.
Just let Tim know I got my first pair of purple socks already.
Ah, yes, they arrived finally down in Rocket Land. The purple socks have arrived.
Never got to do that trip, but
we will do that trip someday. Let's go to Billy in New York. Hey, Billy, welcome to the show, my friend. First, how many inches of snow did you have upstate?
25.
Okay, because I'll be shoveling that on Friday.
You might have about a little less up there, maybe 24.
Oh, that inch. In some parts of life, that inch makes a difference.
Inch is a big deal.
Could be a big deal. What do you got for Tim today?
A little gay twist for you, John. How about Key West?
Oh, Key West.
Key West is a good guess, not on the list.
Wah, wah, wah.
Now, Billy, you've been there before, right?
Oh, I think I was riding the Brontosaurus the last time I was there.
Tim went for the first time a while ago.
Years ago. John's not a fan. I was not so much either. It's okay.
It's the problem I had with Key West was there's really no beach.
I was just going to say that. I want to go in the water.
It's like rocky. It's a guest house. I had a great time, but it was not a beach experience.
Yeah.
Damn it, I'm going to P-Town. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, don't try to go to that beach in high tide. It's like a rice paddy. You know that. You got to hold your cooler over your head.
Hey, Billy, thanks so much for your call, and thanks for the heads up on what I'm going to be shoveling out on Friday.
Happy shoveling.
Thank you. Have a great one, my friend.
Every time we go to P-Town, it's like leaving Vietnam. You got to
hold your
tide comes in.
Your backpack up. Let's go down to Fort Lauderdale and welcome Rob to the focus group. Hey, Rob, welcome to the show today. What do you have for Tim's list today? We are doing great, my friend. I'm sure you're doing fabulous in what 75-degree weather down there?
Yeah, it was a little cool this morning. It was only 57, but it's warmed up to 75 now.
Wow, wow, wow. All right, what do you got for Tim?
Of course, I've heard that Fort Lauderdale is back in vogue again. So Fort Lauderdale.
Is Lauderdale on the list?
You know, there are Florida destinations on the list.
Oh,
Fort
okay.
Lauderdale is not one of them.
All right.
So, Rob, this is interesting because the last couple of lists, I thought they were like dead simple when I think about it, but they end up being, according to this person who compiled it.
Yeah, and they used, as I said, a bunch of these.
Hey, Rob, before I let you go, you have the fabulous toy collection, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, guys. Okay.
Toy collection of what?
I promise everybody, if Rob, with your permission, I
Yes.
promise a few pictures next week from Rob Collects Sci-Fi, Toys and Dolls.
My partner, mainly my partners, but I
Look, he's distancing himself.
So.
Mainly the partner. I could identify. The sick thing is, when you send me the pictures, I could literally cherry pick. I name the characters and the ships. It's pretty amazing. Thanks for sending those, and I'm going to share them with everybody. And thanks for your call today, Rob.
Those are, we have there's over 5,000 figures in there.
Guys, in the booth, I got to tell you, when you see the pictures, you're going to love it. You're going to go down. In fact, Rob, next time I'm in Florida, I'm going to come over.
Yep, no problem.
It's play date. I'm going to play with the ships.
Doesn't anybody have Matchboxes or Tonka trucks? What else?
Star Wars, Star Trek.
All action figures, Star Wars, Marvel, Disney.
I'm going to bring on my I Love Lucy
We have a
dolls.
whole Star Trek room.
You could bring I Love Lucy. It will not mesh with
my I Love
the
Lucy
DS9 crew or the Voyager crew, but Rob, thanks for your call and have a great one, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Let's go to New Jersey and welcome Steve to the show. Steve, what do you have for us today?
Hey, guys. I'm going to guess for Las Vegas.
Yeah, see, now Vegas would be...
Vegas is a good guess, and guess what? Las Vegas is on the list. It's number 5. Do you know why it's on the list?
I don't know.
So the big hot thing in Vegas is starting in March, all the hotels have got on this pool party bandwagon. And they said that they start them in March, and it's a very rowdy, wild spring break crowd in Las Vegas at the pool parties. Number 5. Most popular destination.
All right, so we're looking for 1 or 8, but very good job today, Steve. Thank you for your call, and we'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Let's go up to Albany, state capital of New York, and welcome John to the focus group. John, are you digging out as well?
I am digging out very much, yes. Thanks for taking my call.
What do you think is a top 10 destination for spring break?
South Padre Island.
See, this is another one that I think...
Why'd you come up with that one?
I remember years ago reading, it's really, I believe probably there's a lot of colleges in Texas, of course, so I think that's where geographically they must go.
Yes, it's a good guess. They said it's cheap, which people like. Highs in the mid-70s by mid-March. And hundreds of thousands, it says, 20,000 college students flock there. They host a massive annual spring break shindig, complete with DJs and rowdy crowds. So it's South Padre Island number 4.
Ooh, we were looking for 1 or 8.
Yep.
Well, thank you anyway.
Well, John, thank you. Keep playing, keep tuning in. There's always a chance to win more socks. And
Great. We love the show.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
I think we have time for one more.
Right, we'll take one more call. We're going to go to Columbus, Ohio. We're going to welcome Charlie to the focus group. Charlie, what do you have for Tim's list today?
Well, with that little video on the racing, how about Homestead?
Oh,
it's the last NASCAR race of the season.
Homestead.
Homestead where?
Florida.
Yeah, Homestead, Florida. Because you said there was a bunch of Floridas on.
Yeah, not. What's Homestead near?
Orlando.
Yeah.
Is it near?
St. Pete.
St. Pete. Okay, not on the list.
You put it through all that, and you get. I tell you, Charlie, that was a long way to go to figure out where Homestead was, and then to say you're not on the list.
Not on the list. No, but a good guess.
But a good guess, yes. Hey, Charlie, thanks for playing. Hope you're well out there in Columbus, and please tune in again. We love hearing from everybody.
I love Columbus.
All right, so in the interest of time,
I know, John. I looked at the clock. I can't believe it. We're going
gotta
over.
run.
These are this. As I said, list was compiled in the USA Today. They use sites such as Kayak, Twitter, Orbitz, Oyster.com. I don't know what that is, and came up with their top 10 spring break destinations. Number 10, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles,
and they said that it's nice weather all around.
Yeah.
Number 9, Cancun, Mexico.
Now that surprises me.
Why?
Well, I always, like a lot of our listeners and people who are watching today, I would have assumed it was like just the coastal parts of America. I would not have necessarily.
No, this Mexico thing is big. Due to the price, due to the waters, due to the beaches, Cancun, particularly in the hotels.
I love the pictures you find for this. A bunch of guys with guns and sombreros. Okay.
So I typed in Cancun, Mexico, spring break, and that popped up. Somebody will yell and say it's racist, but they're at the restaurant.
And they're having, yeah, okay.
Number 8, Panama City, Florida. Spring break capital of the world.
Yeah, I love the retro graphics.
Low-key Florida beach town hosts nearly 500,000 co-eds every spring.
500,000?
Yep. Outdoor concerts, popular restaurants, bars, extended happy hours. So, yep, Panama City, Florida. Number 7, Miami. The most expensive of spring break locations, but they said that people like it for the cool vibe, the clubs, which are open to 4 a.m. in the morning.
It wasn't always expensive.
No. Number 6, New Orleans. New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay.
Said it's a top spring break destination, particularly because of Mardi Gras, which is in February usually, and then the April Jazz Fest, and temperatures in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Steve got Las Vegas. Number 4, John got South Padre Island in Texas. Number 3, another Florida destination, Tampa, due to its affordability as well. Tampa's a good location. That would be Tampa St. Pete. Very suited for families. Number 2, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico.
Okay.
Which they really say is just an extension of Southern California because of its deluxe accommodations, golf courses,
Thank you, John.
high-end shops. What are you laughing at?
He zooms in on those. You know what? They're wearing something. Those are chairs.
Those are chairs, yeah.
Chair. Oh, my God, that's hysterical.
That's the best one. There was a whole group. So I did, again, Cabo San Lucas and all these chairs. These 2 women did the best. They were the best of
That was
of
cute. That's
stuff.
funny.
And number 1, I never would have picked. It's coming up to be one of the top destinations or the top destination. Great temperatures. They have the South by Southwest Festival.
Oh.
And people are going there because of fear of the Zika virus in the Caribbean. The number 1 spot, Austin, Texas, which I would have never guessed.
Wow. Okay. But Austin's a cool town.
Austin's a cool town.
Good list, Tim. Very
was
good
a
list.
list.
Thanks for everybody for playing.
Right. So thanks everyone for playing. Thank you, John. Thanks all of you out there for listening and playing along. And it's okay to call during the show too. You don't have to just call during the list, but we appreciate it. We want to thank our partner here, Volkswagen of America. If you're in the market for a new car, be sure to check out all the great cars they have to offer. They just released a new car called the. It's a CC replacement, and then they've got the Atlas that's coming.
Can you name the CC?
Arteon. I sometimes have trouble with these global names, but go to VW.com. There's some great spring deals going on right now, and find the model that suits your needs. We'll see you next week. Who do we have? Do we have a guest next week? We're working on it. We're going to talk jobs.
Yes, we do. Jobs. Next week. Yeah.
All right, great. Have a good week.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on Sirius XM Satellite Radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.